The point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well,
we don't
wait
know
a minute.
if it did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator.
One of the very frightened emails he gets from an assistant in January of 2020 is an assistant saying, "Oh my goodness, this is gain-of-function research we funded." This is from his assistant. This is gain-of-function research that we funded, but I don't know how that could have happened because it never went before the safety committee. So yes, they knew very, very quickly, and they were worried about guilt. They were worried about culpability. They're worried that anybody's hands that touched the money, anybody who approved the money going to Wuhan, would ultimately get blamed. So Fauci actually organized a paper called Proximal Origins. He had 5 virologists write the paper. Most of them were well rewarded with large grants. Christian Anderson got a $9 million grant about a month after this. Meanwhile, all of these people were privately saying, "Oh my goodness, it looks like it was manipulated." But publicly, they were saying it's a conspiracy theory. They went to Facebook, they suppressed it. They told Facebook, suppress the story of anything coming from the lab. It's all conspiracy theory. So in no way was Fauci ever objective. Fauci leaned in on this, he pressed hard, and he used his 40 years worth of accumulated power to try to suppress any story that this came from the lab. January 27th, there's emails starting at 6 o'clock. They're going across the ocean to Jeremy Farrar in England and back. They go on till 3 in the morning. At 3 in the morning, Anthony Fauci sends an email to the head of the safety committee. The head of the safety committee should have seen this research, but never did. And he sends him an email saying, "Hey, nothing to see here. Here's a paper that says in all likelihood this came from animals, not from the lab." Why is he sending that to the head of the safety committee? Because the safety committee was never allowed to review this. For 3 years, I've been asking the NIH for the deliberations. If this is not gain of function, I want to see the discussion between the scientists. Fauci says all the scientists up and down, they all said it wasn't gain of function. Let me see the deliberations. I want to see the arguments for and against. They won't reveal this. They are tighter-lipped than the CIA on this, and the NIA has resisted really requests from Democrats and Republicans. The Democrat chair of my committee has co-signed this request. It's over a year old, and my individual requests are 3 years old. They have resisted, they have obscured, and according to Fauci's assistant that he threw under the bus today, David Morenz, according to him, it was a targeted cover-up and that they destroyed emails and evidence. But today, the most shocking and surprising thing was Anthony Fauci threw David Morenz, a 20-year assistant, under the bus and acted as if he'd hardly ever met him. He wasn't part of the inner circle. He never made decisions, had no access to my office, all completely the opposite of what David Morenz says. But David Morenz worked for 20 years for Anthony Fauci. He's called the special advisor to the head of the agency, which Anthony Fauci is. But today, Anthony Fauci could not run fast enough. And the real question is this. If we were to get a prosecutor someday, maybe a new presidential administration, that asks David Morenz under oath and says, you're going to be punished for destroying records, you may see prison time, would you be willing to give us the full story on what Anthony Fauci knew and when he knew it? I think there's a great deal to be had, but I think one of the reasons Morenz is the fall guy here, and they've chosen him as the fall guy, he's been paid for over a year not to work. So he's on paid leave for over a year, maybe 2 years now from the NIH.